It's a dream among aspiring college students around the world to go to Yale. This elite university is located in the city of New Haven, which has a population of 150,000. However, according to an FBI report in 2019, New Haven's crime rate ranked among the top 6% of cities in the US, and a fourth of its population is living below the poverty line. This parking lot is where carpenter Ernest Pagan's nightmare began. In February 2007, the police arrested him in this building where he was working. He was charged with shooting one man to death and wounding another outside a bar a month previously.
Everybody who I was around with, was facing life in prison, serious crime. Anything can happen at any given minute.
Pagan insisted that he was innocent. Despite the lack of any direct evidence, such as the weapon used or fingerprints, Pagan was charged with murder and illegal gun possession. If he was found guilty, he could expect a jail sentence of at least 60 years. Pagan needed a lawyer to defend him, but he couldn't afford the tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. Under American law, a court must appoint a lawyer free of charge for suspects in criminal cases who cannot afford one. This court-appointed lawyer is known as a public defender. However, Pagan had no trust in this free service.
My whole community did not trust public defenders. You don't got to pay a lawyer, you can't win. The public defenders is hired by the state. The prosecutors are hired by the state. They're going to work together to give you a railroad, to give you some time.
In the US, public defenders are in short supply. Nationwide, they spend no more than 12 hours on average on a criminal case. In cities with higher crime rates, the time is even less. In New Orleans, Louisiana, it's just 7 minutes.
And if a public defender's office is handling 400 or 500 felonies per lawyer, it's impossible that all of those cases get adequate representation. Absolutely impossible.
Since public defenders are often too busy to gather evidence on behalf of their clients, many criminal cases are resolved through a plea bargain. The prosecuting and defending attorneys haggle, not over the defendant's guilt or innocence, but over the amount of jail time he or she will serve. Plea bargaining is considered efficient because it takes less time and closes more cases. Pagan was not given a public defender. He was kept in a correctional institution for several days, but stubbornly resisted the pressure and refused to plead guilty.
This is also rather unusual. They tried for 3 days to get Mr. Pagan to confess, and he refused to confess. So the fact that he withstood that coercive interrogation would tell Mr. Ullman he might very well be innocent.
By insisting on his rights, Pagan made time for evidence of his innocence to build up. It was eventually revealed that the police had deliberately manipulated the testimony against him. After being locked up in prison for over a year, he finally regained his freedom.
I'll be sitting in prison with so many other people who are innocent, basically in jail just because, circumstances and police not really caring about justice, but just closing the case.
Pagan was both unfortunate and fortunate in that, although he was deprived of a year of freedom, at least he was exonerated. According to the US Department of Justice, 80% of defendants in state felony cases use court-appointed public defenders because they cannot afford a lawyer, and 80% of these defendants eventually plead guilty and serve time in prison through plea bargaining. This arbitrary detention is quite clearly a major factor in the growth of the number of inmates.